For the best prices and service on Pokemon TCG singles and products, check out ccgcastle.com and use promo code Evolutionaries-5 for 5% off your next order.
What's up, guys? And here, and for today's Deck Tech Thursday, I'm going to be showing you guys my Alolan Ninetales deck. Now, this deck has done me pretty well, even going as far as getting me a top 8 at a local League Cup. And honestly, it's a really good deck for Standard. And now that the new Burning Shadows came out with the new Ninetales, it just got a whole lot better. Plus a bunch of other cards too. So, I'll delay where you get right into it. Alright, so we got 4 copies of Vulpix here. Now, unlike a lot of the usual starter Pokemon that we see, not starter but basic to evolution, this one actually has a purpose. For a single colorless, you can use the attack Beacon. Well, not even for a single colorless. Wow, I misread that for a second. It's completely free, and you can search up for 2 Pokemon from your deck and put them into your hand. So, not only do you play this in Ninetales, we actually play this in a lot of Stage 2 decks as well, from what I'm seeing. So, overall, a very, very good card. Alright. Next up, I run a 2-2 line here of Ninetales. I run 2 Ninetales GX and 2 of the non-GX from Burning Shadows. Now, the GX has been around since Guardians Rising, and it's got some pretty cool attacks. For 2 colorless, does Ice Blade, 50 damage to any one of your opponent's Pokemon, so really good for sniping. Blizzard Edge doesn't get used as much, but does 160, and you have to discard 2 Water Energy. But with a Choice Band, it's doing 190, and not to mention all the damage is spraying around everywhere. It usually can one-shot anything in a pinch if you need it to. And its GX attack is Ice Path, which is really good. 2 colorless, and you move all damage counters from Ninetales onto your opponent's Pokemon. So, really, really good. You freshly heal your Ninetales and knock out your opponent's Pokemon in the process. Now, as for the non-GX one, it's a pretty standard stage 110. Water, 2 colorless, does 80 damage. Whatever. But Luminous Barrier is why this card is so good. Prevents all effective attacks including damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's GX and EX. I love the fact that they still include EX in this, so really, really good. Because, let's face it, EX and GX is everything meta right now. And not to mention, we don't have Hex Maniac, so the only deck that can really get around it at the moment is something running Trashalanche, Trashalanche, Garbodor, Garbotoxin, that stuff. So yeah, other than that, your opponent's gonna have a really hard time with this. Alright, now to our other Pokemon. We run 3 copies of Tapu Koko because this is a kind of sort of a damage spreading deck. This is the best way we could do it. For Flying Flip, for double colors, does 20 everywhere. Let me get that out of the glare. 20 everywhere. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No flipping, no none of that. Well, technically flipping, but yeah, that was awful. I'm sorry. But no, yeah, so many decks are running this Tapu Koko, and it's amazing. Not to mention, Free Retreat definitely helps too, so it's the best one you want to start with. But starting with an Alolan Vulpix is pretty good too. And speaking of Tapu, we're going to be running 3 copies of Tapu Lele. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Lele's really expensive and hard to get a hold of. I'm aware, but that's standard format. Like standard format, you need at least 2 to 3 Lele nowadays. Some decks even need 4 Lele. Like, it's become that much of a staple. And trust me, I think it's completely unfair that it's so expensive. And truth be told, we need a tin for Lele. We honestly need a promo tin. Like, they can't do what they did with Shaman and not give us the promo tin. Because even Jirachi in its prime, yeah, it was expensive, but it wasn't no $50, $60 card, at least from what I remember. But, yeah, Wonder Tag, you search your deck for a supporter. And not to mention Energy Drive in a pinch is really handy. And the last 2 Pokemon we're going to be running is going to be Oranguru and Espeon EX. Now, this was originally a Tapu Fini GX, which Fini is good, don't get me wrong. Fini is good. But Espeon EX, in my opinion, has proven to be better. So that's just my opinion on it. Miraculous Shine, you de-evolve all of your opponent's Pokemon, which that's really good in Standard because Evolution is the meta. And not to mention all the damage you're spreading. Once you de-evolve, most of the time you're going to be knocking things out on the spot. And Oranguru is just really, really good on almost any deck nowadays. Drawing so you have 3 cards in your hand. And if you absolutely have to, you can use Psychic. Does 60 and 20 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active. So, let's say you're going against the Mirror and you have this Ninetales that you're facing them against. Oranguru, once this is powered up, actually one-shots it. So, really handy there. So, that's going to be it for the supporter lineup. For the supporter lineup, wow. For the Pokemon lineup, now we're getting to the supporter lineup. So we're going to start off here with 4 copies of Professor Sycamore, 3 copies of N, along with 1 Bridget, which every deck in Standard now is basically running Bridget. It's such a good card. Sycamore, Standard Reasons, N for Standard Reasons. And now that we don't have VS Seeker, we're running more copies of cards. Of supporters, I mean. So we also have 1 Skyla, 2 copies of Acerola. A lot of people only run 1. But I personally prefer 2, mainly because having 2 Acerola has gotten me out of so many situations. And not to mention, since, again, we don't have VS Seeker, and we're not going to have any way to retrieve our stuff until Crimson Invasion comes out when we get that Lusamine. So until then, we got to up our supporter count quite a bit. And, going to kick it off with 2 Guzma. Now, if you want to run 3 Guzma, that's fine. You could definitely take out an Acerola for a Guzma if you want, but that would be the only supporter I would take out for a 3rd Guzma. I would not touch anything else here, but that's just me. If you really don't like the supporter lineup and want to change it entirely, go for it. And with that, that does it for our supporter lineup. Nothing too fancy. Alright, now for the items. So we have 4 copies here of Ultra Ball. 2, 3, and 4 copies of Aqua Patch. Honestly, why I feel so many water decks are doing so well right now. Aqua Patch is just amazing. Being able to attach a water energy from discard to one of your water Pokemon is just too good. Back when we had this for Dark Pokemon, when we had Dark Patch, it was literally why Dark decks were the meta. And Ultra Ball, it's Ultra Ball. You search any Pokemon you want. I don't even know how to explain it much further. Alright, so now for our tools. We have 2 copies of Choice Band, 2 copies of Floatstone, and as a recent addition, I added 2 copies of Assault Vest. Because so many decks nowadays are running Special Energy, and being able to reduce damage by 40 is so good. Especially against the Gardevoir matchup, because it really helps prevent that one shot that always gets to you with Gardevoir. Floatstone, just so you don't have to discard your energy, even though it's not that bad to do it because of Aqua Patch. But let's say stuff, mainly like Oranguru, for example, that has 2 energy retreat costs. You don't want to retreat with a double colorless just to get your Oranguru out of there. And not to mention that even though it doesn't hurt that much to discard an energy to retreat, you don't always want to do that. So that's why I feel 2 Floatstone is a definitely good way to go. Alright, next up here I have 2 Rescue Stretcher. And we're going to kick it off with 2 copies of Field Blower. Now, because of Aqua Patch, I don't run Super Rod in here. But if you still feel like you want to run Super Rod, then go for it. Make the deck any way you like it. What I show you guys is just how my version of it would go. But there's certainly nothing wrong with making your own version. And for stadiums, I just run the 1 Brooklet Hill. Now, I only run 1 of this card because I've never needed more than 1 Brooklet Hill. I notice people usually run at least like 2 or even 3, but honestly, after the turn 1 Bridget that you want to get most of the time, yeah, it's like, honestly, you don't even really need to play Brooklet Hill at all if you don't want to. But I just find having the 1 Brooklet Hill in case I don't get the Bridget turn 1 that I want does help out a little bit. Alright, now that all that's done, we're going to get into the final part, our energy. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 basic water energy. And 1, 2, 3, 4 double colorless energy. And with that, that is going to be the end of the Ninetales deck profile. As I said, it's a very strong contender in standard events right now. Definitely have been placing in cups all around. And all around, it's just a really good deck. Like, and one of the things you could do, there's so many ways you can play this deck. One of them is just spread it down with Coco, and then just snipe around with Ninetales for game. Or just play blocking with this Ninetales here. Like, sometimes your opponent doesn't even have an answer to this, and they just have to give up entirely. So, there's so many ways you can play this deck. And it doesn't even have to be my combination either. You can do it with the Decidueye. That's still a thing if you want it to be. I've seen some people even do it with Metagross. Like, so many ways you can build a Ninetales. So, with that, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And come back tomorrow where we face up against Professor K, and we'll see who wins this one. I've got a pretty good feeling for me, but only time will tell. So, this has been N with the Pokemon Evolutionaries, and I'll catch you guys later.